7:30. I'm up. That was hard to get up, but I'm up. I want an early start today because I am 13 hours drive from Edinburgh. I'm only in level with like the lower part of the Lake District. I think I did pretty good yesterday considering I set up at 1, but I'm gonna see if I can't hit Edinburgh right tonight. Oh, that's gonna be hard. If I cycle non-stop now, what would that take me to? 7:30. It take me to 10:30 at night. Oh. And I need to stop off and get some breakfast and food. I was going to cycle 1 hour to T-Bay Services, grab breakfast there, charge some stuff up, get some food from the farm shop cafe, and that'd be my day food for the day. It's going to be tough, but I'm going to give it a shot. And let's see where I end up. I have to say, I loved sleeping into that last night. It rocked me to bed like a baby in a lullaby. Did not like swimming in it though. The additional challenges for today. I noticed yesterday that these 2 bolts had come off. Well, the bolts, sorry, the nuts had come off. So I managed to pinch a nut from one of the pieces that was keeping this middle part together, so that would be slightly less stable, although that's less imperative. And I put it here, but that means that one's without support. So 3 out of 4 bolts are in place holding this rack up. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on them. Challenge number 2, my feet. I feel blisters. They hurt. And I've got quite a bit longer to go today, so I don't know, I'm just gonna put cream on that, I hope it goes away. I haven't really got many other options. I was hoping having a day's break would help, but maybe not.
Going from that lake to Edinburgh in one day would be ambitious to say the least, but it was a potential in the back of my mind and an ambition to aim for and potentially, roll back if need be. I love the idea of being able to see Hannah that night and also sleep in my own bed properly. And the most efficient way to get there would be basically following the M6 for 2/3 of the journey, as you can see on the left in this video. There are roads that pretty much run parallel to it all the way up to around Gretna, just over the Scottish border. But for now at least, as I cycled to T-Bay, which is the place where I was going to have some breakfast, things were great. I had amazing views. I was technically in the Yorkshire Dales, so these roads were beautiful. But there were 2 things on my mind. First one, as per usual, was my knee.
My knee isn't feeling too peachy right now. Similar pain to what I get when it goes, or just before it goes. So, yeah.
The second thing was food. I was getting hungry.
20 kilometers in. I want breakfast!
Funnily enough, the first walk I'd met all that day was just on the brow of that hill there, so he must have heard me shout, I want breakfast. Anyway, but I did get there, and it was a big breakfast.
Treating myself, this is basically the same cost as that campsite would have been last night. Not a bad place to do it either. Right. That was a longer stop than I thought at T-Bay. I'll admit, I think that was mainly due to being forced into a breakfast-induced food coma after all that food I ate. It was nice, but I ended up being there for like 2 hours slumped, and even a coffee couldn't get me out of it. I brought food though, as well from the shop. Between that and the breakfast, I have put myself down like about 40 quid in that place. It's not cheap, but hey ho, I saved money on not camping last night. I do still have this wider concern about my knee though. again, the issue is I spent months with physio and things like that trying to get my knee right and training it and adjusting my old bike to the right setting and so on and so on. This took months to get it so that it was happy cycling 10 hours a day, whatever. And then I've got a new bike, and it takes a while to get used to it. And it takes a while to get the adjustments correct. And I'm not sure they're quite correct at the moment. So I've lowered my seat again slightly, see if that helps, but I can feel it starting to get upset. I really don't want this to risk the trip. But this was always kind of the nuclear problem. If this knee goes, and the trip is in serious danger. But I gotta carry on, see what happens. I'll keep you updated. Oh, I need to stop feeling this full though beforehand.
So what happened next? So I cycled through a completely closed road. They were nice, but I don't think too impressed. I upgraded to an iPhone.
Just found an iPhone on the phone. Then I've seen better days.
I found my second unhappy bunny of the trip.
No, come on. Yeah, no. Oh, you're foaming as well, you poor thing.
But you know what? Overall, I wasn't feeling too bad.
So, just come through Penrith. So I've done about another 20-25 kilometres since I had breakfast. And you know what? My knee isn't too bad. Okay, so the audio on this clip just completely bombed for some reason, so I'll have to do a voiceover instead. And, you know, to save you looking at my face, I'll put another background clip on instead. But what I was basically saying was that I was very surprised that my knee had suddenly got better. I was genuinely making plans in my head, thinking over and over about how I was going to change this trip to accommodate it, if I could at all. But it did get better, and I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it was the 2-hour rest at T-Bay, but I think that was unlikely. It usually needs longer rest than that to recover. Maybe it was the adjustment of the seat, finally getting it into a position that it was happy with. Or maybe it was all the food I had entering into some sort of almost like a medically induced coma. It allowed everything to recover, or is at least making my muscles fire correctly and putting less strain on my knee. Or maybe even that my knee was holding the entire trip hostage for a load of food, which I quite like that excuse actually. Might use that in the future. But either way, this made me feel better about the trip. And I think that plan to try and get to Edinburgh by the end of the day was back on the cards. And soon, I was past the Lake District. So Long Lakes. Used to go on holiday there all the time as a kid. I need to go back properly. Spend a good old week there, it's amazing. Shame I didn't get to go into it on this trip.
And then not long later, I was past Carlisle and about to cross the border into Scotland.
Here we are, chaps. Here we are. Almost there, almost at the border. And Scotland at last. Oh, can't you wait to get home and have a glamour of Lochboy. You can. That was awful. Right, it's 5:30. I'm back in Scotland, and now I've got to make it across the borders, which is going to be a big up and a big down before I can hit Edinburgh. Whew. It's going to be a toughie. considering I'm almost already 110 kilometers in. I got this, come on.
Fun fact, I was cycling the wrong way during that clip, so I don't know if I did got this. Shortly after, I was heading down the last country lanes that I would see for a while, and had some time to think.
Something just occurred to me. This is now my 4th bike. I already had my main one, which was my mountain bike that I've had for years. Then I bought a little one for getting around the city that folded up. Then I bought my other one that you've seen on this trip, my old vintage tourer. And then there's now this one. So we live in a 2-bed house. There was barely enough space when I had 2 bikes. Now there's 4. And Hannah's asking for a bike. She's been asking for a while because she doesn't have one. You'll have to tell her there's no space.
I then headed into a local shop because my knee was holding the trip hostage for a Magnum, a duo packet of Snickers, some brownies, and a cup of coffee. So obviously I had to oblige. At this point it was getting late, at around 5:30, and I still had 2 major legs of the journey to go. The first leg of the journey would comprise of me following these very, very straight roads that ran alongside the M6, and this was incredibly boring, just to illustrate it here by this time lapse. And it's at this point that I decided to do check-ins with the camera at every 10 kilometers.
130 kilometers in, rain's coming down, making it a little bit miserable. I'll soon be coming on Lockerbie. I put my coat on for the first time, just because it is also cold. So hopefully I don't sweat underneath this and just ruin the point of the coat. Ah, it has become very miserable. 140k. This is the furthest I've ever cycled by far. The last record was 130. So this is very much new territory for me. And we've got quite a way to go, so this will be interesting. Rain isn't easing. My butt is killing me. But I'll get there. Nearly always do. $150 kilometers. It's 8:25 and I'm feeling tired. Like, I haven't actually really felt tired on this trip yet when cycling. The cycling gives me an energy boost, but, well, mentally anyway. But I think I'm hitting that wall. $160 kilometers. It's 9 PM. I'm in Moffat. This is a big milestone. It gets me off that motorway area, and I know this route back now. It is very wet. Rain's not giving up. But luckily this mountain biking hat of mine largely keeps it out of my face, which would make the situation so much worse if my face was constantly getting wet. That really brings you down.
We're now entering phase 2 of this trip, which is over the border region. Now this is quite a mountainous region, which I would have to traverse from one side to the other to get to Edinburgh. And it was only going to get darker.
Around 170 kilometers. It's 9:30. I know where I am, because despite basically being in the cloud, therefore visibility is rubbish. Otherwise there'd be great views over there, but not today. I don't know where I am because this is a forest that we frequently see where they haven't managed it appropriately. They never thinned it out, meaning they didn't remove some trees, allowing the others to grow bigger, so they're all very densely packed. They're all very thin and the wind's just blowing them all over, or at least half of them from this side. And when they're that densely packed, they all fall like dominoes. So you probably can't see very well on here, but that is a mostly collapsed forest.
And then shortly after this, my support vehicle arrived.
Princess in shining armour.
I suppose you want things from me?
Yeah.
And then off she would head again back to Edinburgh. And then things very quickly got dark.
So Hannah came very kindly to drop some things off and do a trade. She's given me a better coat. The coat that I didn't bring, which is quite heavy, but it's better than the one I had. And most importantly, this light. I bought this light almost a decade ago so I could do some nighttime mountain biking and kind of trails and things like that. Never did that. I barely used it, but man am I glad I have it now. I also gave her some things I don't think I'll need tonight to save on my load, make myself a bit lighter. But I did keep all my camping stuff just in case I do need to pitch up because something goes wrong, like light breaks or something. This road is not fun like this, but I'm doing okay. You can normally hear the cars before you see them, and the fact we're in the clouds helps you see them earlier. Their light projects like a light on a fog machine. And any cars that are coming my way, from my way, in the direction that I'm going, I'm just completely pulling over. I'm not even letting them overtake me normally. I'm getting off the road onto the verge. Stopping every now and then to check that back light still works, but luckily I'm only getting a car coming from on my side of the road maybe every 5-10 minutes. Problem is, cars coming the other way are really bad and turning off their high beams, like this guy. There we go, right at the right second. Sure you can see me earlier than that, mate. I've only had one turn them off in an appropriate amount of time, with the past maybe 7 that have gone past. Anyway, luckily I know this route now. I've done this, I don't know, 10, maybe 20 times. So I feel okay. Around 180 kilometres. Quite cold. I've been coasting basically downhill for the past maybe between 5 and 10 kilometres. Losing all the altitude that I gained earlier, but it means lack of pedaling. I'm quite chilly. 190 kilometres. Feeling quite tired. Still a lot of downhill, but luckily I'm out of those clouds and the sky's cleared up, which is good. Not many cars on the road. No, there was one that overtook a tractor, which I did not like when I was cycling past. Driving through Groton, cycling through. It's not where I thought it was. I mean, I know Groton, but I think I was getting its location mixed up with somewhere closer to Edinburgh, which is very disappointing. 200 kilometres. Since the last check-in, I've only had one ambulance and one car pass me. Or since the last check-in 10 kilometres ago. I'm surprised I'm not aching in more places. My bum was hurting much more earlier, but I think the adrenaline is kicking in. That's not stopping me, however, from getting tired mentally. And I can see a car coming up behind me, so I'm going to pull over. ...210 kilometres. The time is around 1:15 midnight. Body's surprisingly okay. My mind is struggling. Caffeine from the Red Bull helped a bit, but that's already gone. I've got another one, but I'm going to save that a bit longer if I can. A place called Callans down there. That's where I came from in Warrington. I've gone on one giant loop. Yeah, I'm waiting for a junction that I swear I should have hit by now. So I'm just wondering if I'm getting confused or what. I know I'm on the right road. You can't accidentally take a wrong turn on this road. It's just one long road, but I don't know where this junction is. Maybe I'm getting confused. 220 kilometres. Body's still doing okay, which I'm quite surprised about. I'm guessing that my knee was better because of that seat adjustment, otherwise I doubt it would have lasted this long. I'm about halfway along the Pentlands based on what I've been able to see over there. It looks like they're hidden a bit slightly now behind some trees. You can tell you're getting closer to Edinburgh because the quality of the road is deteriorating significantly. This is ridiculous. Driving on the surface of the moon here. Couple checked that I was doing okay, as they were nearby residents, so that was sweet of them. This is the junction I've been waiting for. How did I think it was so much earlier than it is? Yeah, this is it, finally. Straight ahead for Edinburgh, or right for Peebles. ...230 kilometres. I'm on the outskirts of Edinburgh. Oh, this was the last big hill to climb. really tired. Slightly nauseous. But otherwise okay. Ooh, 240 kilometres. And I'm home.
You're so smelly. Oh, you're so smelly. So he's so wicked. I am knackered. My feet hurt, my hands hurt. I'm exhausted, but I said I was going to have a whiskey. So, I'm having a whiskey. Cheers. Okay, bedtime.